Good afternoon, everyone. This is Danielle. I am recording this webinar today, so you will be able to share it with anybody that was unable to attend. Many of you are familiar with the GoToMeeting format. Everybody enters the webinar muted. But, the purpose of today's webinar is really an interactive webinar. So we wanted a chance to bring the Hancock user community and other state weatherization and agencies that may be interested that may not use Hancock. Just a way to bring everybody together and share some ideas and best practices that came out of a really hectic week with the virus and how that has affected your business operation. We'd also like to hear feedback from you. I've already heard a little bit of feedback of how Hancock, as a virtual company, how can we better support you during this time when your operations are changing? And that's really my introduction for this webinar. This is a list of the states that use Hancock. There are 14 of them. I didn't put the locations correctly, the icons, because they're all kind of overlapped each other in some instances. But you can see it is a wide breadth of users. And I know you guys are going through a time now where you have to consider how do you still service clients in the best way that's for them. So we thought we'd take this chance to just open up the platform, open up this meeting and ask some feedback about this week from the users. And ideally, I thought we could start with some of the agencies on the call as everybody's still logging in. The two that I contacted beforehand that wanted to speak up were, I chose two agencies coast to coast. So one in California is Nicole from Greater Northern, and one on the East Coast, Civic Works. So Nicole, I see you on here. Would you mind if I unmuted you? And I never got to that Facebook picture that you shared with me, so maybe you can even share it with everybody in general. Nicole, are you able to use the microphone now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you not hear me very clearly?
We can hear you crystal clear.
Okay, so
I'm going to make you an organizer, if you don't mind, and that way if you want to share those pictures or anything that you'd like to share, you can
pull it up in the background.
All right, let me
do that before.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't log into Facebook on this machine, so hold on. I had a moment where we had trouble. Normally I do this from my computer desk, and when I tried to log in from afar using the telephone, it told me all lines were busy, so I kind of sat down and missed the first intro.
Okay, yeah. I just talked about like the purpose of this meeting, and we're gonna discuss like software-wise after you guys kind of present how your week went with the virus and everything. Software-wise, I wanted to show you some things about how if you were working remotely, we can help you. But I thought I'd start out the webinar by just opening up it as a forum. And we talked beforehand on email, but first, maybe you can tell, did you receive anything from your state, and how are you guys adapting as a smaller, just tell us about your agency and how you're adapting so far.
Okay, so we're a nonprofit that has many different branches. Weatherization is just one of them. In California, energy assistance and weatherization go hand in hand. I don't know about other states. Energy assistance is the area where we expect to get more of an impact as people who are out of work start feeling the loss of wages. So we're predicting in about 30 days, we're going to see a big influx of applications for energy assistance. Our weatherization program, we have a crew of 5 people who work in the field total. We have 2 assessors, inspectors slash auditors, and then 3 crew members. So we're not a huge agency. In terms of weatherization, one of the first things we did is we called all the clients that we were scheduled to go see this week and said, do you still want us? And if they said no, we told them, we'd reschedule and we'd figure it out for once they're comfortable having us in their houses again. For our energy assistance department, we have a staff of 4 who deal primarily with that. We have a front entryway that we have open to the public. It's not fully, it's part of our building, but it's pretty separated from the rest of the airspace, including with a sliding glass window. So what we've done is we've set up a phone on the outside of the window with a note saying, hey, we're practicing social distancing. If you want to talk to a staff member, dial 120, so that if people come in to ask us questions or turn in an application, we can talk to them without exposing our staff to additional health concerns. We also have kind of set up an internal policy that papers that come in that are turned in, so we did a little bit of internet research. The National Institution for Health's recent study said that in general, coronaviruses can live on paper or on cardboard for 24 hours. So we're assuming that paper is somewhat similar, and we're quarantining both the mail and quarantining is a little hard of a word. We're setting aside and not touching and not handling mail and applications and paperwork turned in until it's been more than 24 hours. This gets a little complicated with any energy crisis services, but because our local power company has said that they are not going to process any disconnections or shutoffs at this moment, I think all of California's and Oregon's and Washington's power companies have agreed to a similar thing. We're not faced with as many possible crisis intervention program clients as we could have. We still, of course, have that service through our weatherization department, but there's a little bit of more, the state has told us in the past there's a little bit more flexibility with those services to get basic document, to not take a client all the way to completely certified before you actually go try to deal with the services. So we're hoping that if that situation arises, we'll be able to figure out a way to deal with it. So that's kind of the main things that we've done in the departments that we're talking about. Overall, for our organization, our executive director reiterated some guidance to people who who want to consider teleworking about what the rules are around that and how it would work. And we do have a couple people in other departments who are doing that kind of thing. It hasn't really seemed like an option for either energy assistance or weatherization, just due to the nature of the work that we do. And then you can't really take client files home too easily, and it's all about the files. We also, one of our other primary departments is the community services department, which does do food programs, including a senior nutrition Meals on Wheels program and the USDA commodities distributions. And they've had to make a lot of changes in order to figure out how they're going to continue serving the communities that they work with. But those are a completely different set of worries than what energy assistance and weatherization deals with. Is that helpful at all?
Yeah, it's very helpful. And I imagine everybody else is muted right now, but you're going through similar things and you're taking measures, similar measures. Does anybody have any questions for Nicole? So Nicole, I kind of chose on purpose because she runs a small agency that does many programs. Next, I'd like to ask CivicWorks. CivicWorks is a larger initiative, and I'd like to see if just to hear a different perspective. Jen, could I unmute you now if you would be willing to talk about Civic Works? And I'm finding your name. Okay, Jen, I'm about to unmute you. Hi, Jen.
Hello.
Hey.
Am I coming in
Okay,
here?
go ahead.
Perfect.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you clearly.
Okay, perfect. So, gosh, I don't have as nice of a summary as Nicole
Well,
ahead
tell
of me.
us like where you're located, how large your organization is, weatherization, how many units do you usually weatherize, and what's the impact? What have you know, how are you working with your state, and what's the impact so far on your operations?
Yeah, so Civic Works is a pretty large organization. We're a nonprofit in Baltimore City, Maryland. We have a couple different programs. I specifically run the weatherization program within the Center for Sustainable Careers, which is a part of Civic Works. We employ 2 auditors, a field manager, 3 crew leaders, and then another program in our building is a training program. So once they've done their classroom portion, we take them on and to do an on-the-job training. So we're typically running 2 crews between staff and our training participants, doing maybe 80 to 90 full weatherization jobs a year, and then some direct install type jobs. We actually pulled crews last week. Our last day in the field was Thursday. We called all the customers for this week, asking if they were comfortable having us in the home. We did have a few cancel, and then reevaluated on Friday and shut production down for 2 weeks. And then on Monday, we reevaluated again, and we've now shut down production until April 13th. And we'll be reevaluating, over the next 2 or 3 weeks to see what things are going to look like past that point. So that's our production team, but then our office, as of today, is required telework for those who are able. And then we have a couple hourly workers, of course, on the production team. We're utilizing them to check on the building, run our trucks, where we have a schedule to run our diesel trucks once a week, and just kind of working on some of the equipment, putting only max 3 people in the building at a time. So trying to keep as many people in enforced social distancing as we can.
That's great, Jen. Are you guys, have you stopped scheduling clients for after the production resume, or are they doing that from home? That's what they're doing from home. Are they continuing to schedule new clients, or?
I mean, we sort of are. We also, in our CRM, we've just started a wait list essentially of people who are going to need to be rescheduled, so that we have a way to run a report once we are back up in full capacity and know who gets the priority scheduling, somebody that was already on the calendar. But we do have a couple energy advisors, we call them. They're our customer facing team, but they are working from home, still reaching out, scheduling if it's appropriate, for a month out, but then also just, chatting with people, letting them know. We try and connect customers with any other services in the area, so they're trying to just keep the lines of communication open.
That sounds great. While you're talking about a wait list, maybe this is a good idea to show you if your state or agency is managing a wait list and you have additional criteria. Like, I know one state wanted to make sure to not service people at risk, elderly people, during this time period. In the Hancock weatherization system, you do have this filter button that you can actually create a wait list for. So let's say your definition of an active application is that it's greater than this day last year. So let's say you say March of last year. So that would mean the application is active. And then when you use this plugin, you can add a group within those conditions, and you know, you can say that the client's status is qualified, which means that essentially they have filled out all their paperwork and they are income qualified. And this could be your wait list. And if you had additional criteria, like what else could you do? I think we even show elderly and stuff on here too. But when you save this wait list, once you save it for your username, I'm logged in as Danielle2 here, it will remember your setting up here. So every time I log in, it will save a wait list. And then you could sort this by weatherization ranking, and you would be able to reach out in order of priority. So this agency has 56 units here, 56 clients, where they've done everything to qualify, and you can see their weatherization priority. And then this column chooser over here lets you filter out a little more detail if any of this information. Maybe something that we should activate. I know Civic Works most likely uses this tag. It's called an agency tag. And if you all are interested, I can activate this on your sites. But it's a way that the agency can type in an identifier. So if you identify someone as like elderly or, and you can use any tag, it's a free text field. And then you can search the client list for that tag. So this is a great way to organize your wait list or a set of clients based on a field that you may need that you don't have in Hancock right now. It's a good way to organize your wait list. Maine says, please activate tags on my site. Okay. I'm going to take a note. I'll send everybody in all the states an email, and we can activate tags. And just so you know, that's an agency tag that lets the agency do a free text field. But at the state level, if you want it to be able to tag clients, this client tag is something that the agencies can't edit. So at the state level, you can tag clients, and then the agencies can see. For example, in Maryland, this is useful because they're assigned clients. So they see what the client is tagged for, and then they use the agency tag to go ahead and do their own tagging system. Okay. Anything else to share, Jen?
Sorry, I muted myself.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add, I guess I think we're kind of in the camp of being more conservative from talking to other, you know, companies in the area. We almost exclusively work with low and moderate income clients. And so we really let that drive our decision making of recognizing that low and income are likely to be the most vulnerable clients. And so we wanted to be as proactive about our policies as we could to protect not just ourselves, but our clients.
I think that's a great point you make, Jen. Like a difference between Nicole's agency, where she's doing bill pay assistance, right? That's something that is going to go through the roof in a very immediate amount of time, versus someone just doing energy efficiency, and you're actually going into these houses. You really have to consider the health of the people who are when you're going in their house. So I totally understand that. I would like to run a little survey, maybe if we're interested. How many agencies have stopped operations? Maybe that's a question that everybody's interested in knowing. How many? I'll just say organizations, because have stopped weatherizing homes. So I'm going to type this, well, not how many, has your organization. All right, and I am going to send this poll out. Give me a second, and then we can just all see in general. Sorry, that poll did not work. One more time. There, okay. All right, I'm going to launch this poll for everybody, and we can see what the community is doing. So if you could just take a minute and select yes or no. Okay, we have about half of the people have responded. So I'm going to close the poll and share the results. So it looks like as far as weatherizing homes, about 60% have, 40% are continuing. And that may be based on your state's directive. So now I'd like to open up the forum to the states and just get your input on how you guys are handling this as far as communication to your subgrantees. Maine, would you like to start? And Karen, I think you would like to, I don't know if you're by your, oh, Karen, you need to enter something into your phone, #66#, in order to be able to talk. And then Jeff from Vermont, while we're waiting for Karen from Maine, would you like to discuss what Vermont is doing? So Jeff, I'm about to unmute you. Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, hi. So
Hi.
as of today, we just get, hello, can you hear me?
Hi, we can hear you. And just give us a background of how many subgrantees you have, and just like you were about to do.
Yep, I work for the state office in Vermont. We have 5 subgrantees, 4 community action agencies, and the 5th is a nonprofit, but not a cap. We weatherize about 900 homes a year. As of this morning, we recommended to our agencies that they do not send crews to homes. We didn't mandate it, but I think all of our agencies are going to suspend visiting crew homes, and we'd offered them a way to pay crews to still be, on the payroll, come to the office and do spring cleaning, training, etc., at least for the next week and a half. And we're going to play it by ear, how we keep folks paid and busy instead of layoffs, if it comes to that point. So we're going to reevaluate in a week and a half and go from there. But in the meantime, everybody's still going to work, doing what they can, and getting paid. And yeah, that's about it.
Great, Jeff, thanks. And as far as training, David from Virginia mentioned to me earlier before this webinar that it might be a good opportunity of how Hancock can help you guys is during the slow time off trainings. What do you think?
Exactly, yeah, that would be great. I think that'd be great. We with the guidance, we kind of gave the agencies a list of what we would expect or hope they would do, if they can't get out to clients' homes, mostly the crew, and online trainings, resources. That was one on the list, and whatever, I know the crews may not use Hancock essentially, but I think cross training and crews are going to become auditors at some point. Anything we can provide for web-based online training would be beneficial.
Great. Is that list something that you would mind sharing with me? Maybe if you think other states would have see value in it?
Sure, I can send you the guidance I sent out. It's may not be in true list form, but you can an exhaustive, but you can use it as you see fit.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
And now David in Virginia, while we're talking about training, what are your thoughts on when you suggested it may be a good time as a way for Hancock, as the program management platform your state uses, to provide training? Go ahead, David. You're unmuted now. You might not have a mic. Oh, you do have a microphone. Go ahead.
Yeah. So generally, it just, find an area that people might struggle with entering data or entering information into the software, and hosting just a short little webinar on what information the software is looking for in different locations, or how the software is, or users are should move through the software, like from the work order through the inspection and invoicing screens, how things should flow through the software.
Right. When you said that, change audit comes to mind, right? I feel like a lot of your agencies might get confused, like when do they do a change audit versus how do they remodel easily, and any hiccups they may run into when they do a change audit.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, David. And David, while you're unmuted, do you want to talk about what Virginia is doing? And please tell us how many sub-grantees you have, because you have a bunch. So
we have 17 sub-grantees, or 16 or 17 sub-grantees. At this time, we have deferred to letting the individual agencies and their operating policies and decisions at this time. We haven't officially halted the program by any means at this time.
okay, thank you. Now I'd like to go to Maine. Karen is standing by there. Karen, I'm going to unmute you. Hi, Karen. Do you have your microphone now?
I do. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Karen Vigu. I'm
Give us a
from the
little
state of
background.
Maine. I work at Maine State Housing Authority. We are a quasi-state agency. We handle all of the state's weatherization, as well as LIHEAP, as well as home choice vouchers. I mean, our agency handles a lot of federal funding. My focus is on energy and housing services. And in my department, we handle all of our LIHEAP, and we handle all of our WAP, as well as we also administer CHIP, which is our Central Heating Improvement Program. We also administer lead and a home repair program through our housing side here at Maine Housing. We work exclusively with 9 sub-grantees. They're community action agencies throughout our state. So within that network, we have 2 agencies that operate through crews, as well as approved contractors in our network. So what I'm like to share with the team is that, I'm just looking at my notes here, is that we have been meeting, our management has been meeting regularly with our governor and our CDC, as well as with our sub-grantees to come up with an action plan. And as it stands today, even as recently as today, Maine Housing and all of its sub-grantee offices will be closed to the public until further notice. However, we will be taking applications for services over the phone. Only vendors helping with business needs will be allowed entry into the building. So as a follow-up to that, Maine Housing and several of the sub-grantees will be working from home to limit the number of individuals in the building and conducting business through virtual methods. And at least one sub-grantee is quarantining mail for 48 hours before opening using a drop box. Sub-grantees are also calling ahead to verify client is open and available for a visit and is not ill. And several of our sub-grantees have implemented a questionnaire to ask all of these homes that they may visit. If symptoms are present, the agency will postpone the visits. However, Maine Housing and at least one of our sub-grantees is postponing all site visits and inspections for at least the next 2 weeks. Worth noting is Maine Housing is a paperless organization, so all of our materials are handled electronically. So working from home is no different than working from my desk. And that's one of the advantages. We also use our Heat Enterprise platform from soup to nuts. We use it for client intake as well as invoicing and payments. So working from home for us during this crisis is not going to be that difficult. I mean, I never leave my desk to go get paper. I just open my computer to go get what I need. And I'm open to any
Karen,
questions, but that's what I have for now.
Karen, when you said you're all electronic, are your agencies all electronic too? Like, are they uploading all client files into Hancock and working remotely?
Yes, Heat Enterprise is our system of record, and we use the WAP documents to preserve all the required documents for each of the jobs. So we also have here at the state 2 technical monitors and 2 compliance monitors, and it is our job to make sure that all the required documents are uploaded into Heat Enterprise. We look to make sure all signatures are valid, etc. Our agencies also have other requirements, and they are not necessarily paperless on the other requirements, but the relationship between the subgrantees and the grantee for administering weatherization programs does result in all paperless. So while they may be keeping other things in their files, it's nothing I need to look at to approve payment.
Right. That's great to hear. Thank you, Karen. Maybe this is a good time to jump into looking in the software, just in case you're not using it now, how you can desk review, and like Karen discussed, how your state monitors can monitor from afar. Karen, I'm going to mute you because I hear a little bit of an. Okay. So from the job list screen, Karen was saying that she uses primarily WAP documents, and she requires that her agencies, you know, use those documents for an electronic repository. So when you do that, there is a red asterisk on the documents that you require. So as a state, you can require that they upload those documents before they're invoiced. For example, this one is inspected, and I'm not even in main site, but just so you guys get a sense of it, before they invoice, they can use this electronic document repository here called Weatherization WAP document, and they can use it to actually upload the ones that are required. And while you do desk review, for states that want to do desk review, and this might be a control that you're not using now, I really only know of one state using this control now, and that's the state of Maryland. But it may be something that you consider. And in the funding source screen, you can trigger desk reviews. So there's a program option in the program options if you want to use desk review. And if you decide to use it, let's say you want to start desk reviewing your latest DOE funding source. You can trigger state approvals for when a job, you know, is over an SIR, when an amount is over a certain. So here you have this desk review trigger. So if you wanted your state to have to review something before the work is done for amounts and even savings, because most of us on the call were doing energy modeling. So even the savings can do desk reviews. And one more check for the required documents here, and this is a little known feature here. Per funding source, you can set up required documents. So it's not just at a system-wide level. But let's say DOE has certain required documents that LIHEAP weatherization doesn't. Both on the client info documents and the job level WAP documents, you can set upload requirements. And this check happens at invoice. So you have one additional check when they submit the invoice to make sure that they have uploaded required documents that the funding source. Okay. Now I would like to, I've already kind of segued into this topic, but more about how can Hancock help you all during this time. So we talked about training, and I know Josh Vermont, you have some ideas on this. I would like to unmute you now and hear your feedback. All right, I'm going to unmute you, Josh. Go ahead.
I sorry, 1 second. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So I guess we had sort of started the process of trying to look at some of our existing lists that had become a little bit unruly over time. So we had started into the process, and Tony from our program had been taking the lead on just cleaning up like the fuel supplier list and looking at the vendor crew list and looking at kind of database maintenance that is one of those things that we'd always like to get to, but always gets pushed to the back burner. So maybe if there's a number of states that need to do some database cleanup and maintenance, we could work with you at Hancock if we're all going to be like requesting, similar lists that only show things that are active, and weeding out things that have been deactivated or are no longer used over time. If maybe we could all come together and if you're doing scripts or exports, that you're not reinventing the wheel for all of us. If there's shared need out there, that was an idea. I definitely like the idea of training, and it also scares me a bit, just because I worry about consistency and messaging, knowing that each branch of the software is still a bit different, and we all utilize it differently. So if there's a way that we could sort of pre-screen the messaging a bit before field staff and various programs get information from another state that's not relevant to them, I think that would be just something to be cognizant of as we potentially roll out more web-based learning. And I think that if we could maybe ramp up the frequency in the short term of like the strategic planning sessions for how you plan to change the software, now would be a time where I think a lot of us would be able to provide feedback if we're not going out into homes anymore. So those are just some of the ideas that I wanted to put forward and see which ones might resonate with others.
Thanks, Josh. So Josh mentioned data, and I'll speak to this, and then we'll let other people chime in. Josh mentioned database cleanup. So I assume you're logging in and things are just like not the case anymore, and you want to clean it out. Is that the situation?
Yeah. Just if things have just gotten kind of messy and cluttered over time, we're kind of evaluating like how many times are individual hardware stores entered into the software by different agencies, and do they really need to be there multiple times, and just cleaning up redundancies that may not need to be there, getting rid of things that maybe were tried for a while and are no longer current.
Right. We have Mary and Mike here from Maryland, but what they're doing now is they are archiving data. So they're taking a certain cutoff, a year, I think they chose like 2017, and they are having us reroute all the data to a separate database in an archive database. That's just a mention. That's what we're doing for them right now, and it's a way to, in the interface, there's no way to archive old data and kind of get it out of the way, but that's what they're doing. And their main objective is their database grows very quickly and to free up space in the database.
Danielle, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, this is Nicole from Great Northern Services. I'm now an organizer, so I can't raise my hand. I have a question. As a sub-grantee, do we have caps on the amount of our normal budget that can be spent on training? From a grantee perspective, do they have any leeway in being able to allow agencies to expend more of their funding on training? Could we ask our state agency to allow us to expand our training budget?
Josh, while you're unmuted, do you have any insight? And then I can unmute others for that too. Raise your hand if you would like to answer this question from the States.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that. I mean, we're privileged to have a lot of state funding, and we were able to get green lighted thanks to the efforts of my colleagues. I really didn't have anything to do with it. A permission to use some of our non-DOE funding in less conventional ways, but we haven't really tried to do anything different with DOE funding sources.
Karen, do you have any insights into training? I know you help coordinate training in your state. Karen, you're unmuted now.
Yeah, I do. Actually, I was just, I'll click send. I was just sending you a message saying that in Maine, we use our Maine DOE TNTA monies to conduct trainings for our subgrantees and our contractors. And some of that training includes how to process jobs through an energy modeling through heat enterprise. So we actually use heat and say, you know, here's how you enter an energy audit, and here's where you enter it, and here's what you do in the home to get the numbers you need to put in there and enter into heat enterprise. So we, for several years now, have used our DOE TNTA monies for that exact purpose.
And I think though, California, Nicole, if I understand, your DOE funds are such a small, that DOE TNTA, that's such a small percentage for you compared to other weatherization states, right?
Well, it is a pretty small percentage. Between DOE and LIHEAP, I probably have max over the course of the contracts that are going enough TNTA funding to do 2 weeks of full training. Like that, we don't have the funding to actually have a full staff on TNTA for longer than that. And not that the full staff would be, there would be plenty that could be done to in-office work or things like that. But if we're looking at training as a way to keep people employed for 1 or more weeks, I would have to go to the state and say, can I spend more money in this subcategory, which is capped?
Right.
Or can I pay them out of, you know, basic other program costs type funding while doing training? Like, would that be legit?
Am I still unmuted?
This is Josh from Vermont. Sorry, inevitably 2 people always talk at once. So one of the things that I'm wondering about, sort of in the spirit of training and keeping people's paychecks whole during a time where they're maybe doing some unconventional things to fill up their work week, would be maybe if Hancock, if you have the ability to work with individual states, even if it's just sort of like recording some impromptu videos where not everybody feels the pressure of doing it in real time, and maybe states could just develop like a video archive for people to watch, but it would give people an opportunity to sort of present it in the context of, you know, here is how state A or agency B is using this one portion of the software program, and that a state could then, you know, sort of view that and potentially do their own add-ons to it or voiceovers saying, you know, like, we do this other thing instead, just so they're trying to not confuse people and learn how, like in Vermont, they're doing it in Maryland, maybe very different, or California, just so in an attempt to clarify we're not making more muddy water.
This is Karen. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, great. So I just wanted to add my 2 cents to say, yeah, I completely agree that housing some kind of virtual tutorial on Hancock's website might help all of us state. But I did want to add that in our state plan, which just got approved here last week, we were approved to use TNTA to do virtual models of training. So we are absolutely going to do that. One of our models is how to enter an energy audit in Heat Enterprise. One of our modules will be how to invoice jobs through Heat Enterprise. So we here in Maine have already received approval to use our own TNTA money to create these virtual models using, we have some professionals that we have access to. But the follow-up to that is, by all means, I do envision us sharing that with Hancock so that other states can take advantage of that, of how Maine is doing it.
That would be great.
That's what I would think would be great. Like if we could see a video of, here are a couple of aspects of the software that Maine is using in really valuable ways. Like we would love to be able to use that as a learning opportunity, see how California is using it or other states, but have it presented that way and not have it presented as here is the only way to use the software.
I think that's a great idea. It makes us more alike than different too, because sometimes some states are doing things just the way they always did it, not because they have to. And so presenting new and more innovative ideas will also allow us all to get more synchronized. That will also allow Hancock to create a more user-friendly based platform for all of us if we start doing our business a little more similarly.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to pick up some nuggets from everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys know Lily is working on a project over time to enhance the whole technology, the whole platform, make it way more user friendly.
Yep.
And Nicole's agency, she's going to be one of the first to use the new platform.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
But it'll be at a point where we want to get as much people trying it and providing feedback, as we move the whole all of the weatherization components over to it. Alfreda in Georgia, you had your hand raised, but it's lowered now. Alfreda, I'm going to unmute you. Can you hear me? Alfreda might not have a microphone. Okay, maybe that was by accident. And then finally, Julie from Rhode Island, I saw that you came on a little later, and I just want to give you a chance to give any input you'd like from Rhode Island. Julie is at the state in Rhode Island. Can you, Julie, your microphone is unmuted now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I was actually on the NCAF webinar, so I apologize for joining late. Hopefully this is being recorded, right?
Yeah, this is recorded, but if you want to share anything from that webinar, please do so also.
Yeah, so one important thing that I walked away from that was that there's going to be, I guess, another supplemental that to help with the COVID virus. And one of the things that will be considered is the federal agencies, like some kind of regulatory relief. And so I guess that's forthcoming. And DOE, Anna Maria Garcia, also indicated that DOE would be sending out some more specific guidance within the next couple of days. So stay tuned for that. And I think that's also addressing how, the statutory and regulatory requirements of the program, they're looking to see how much more flexible they can make them as far as, the average cost per unit, and using TNTA for, I guess, staff support, things like that. So, so that those were the main points of from that webinar.
That sounds great.
Yeah. So I know that I probably missed the discussion on whether and if other states were continuing to go into homes. But in Rhode Island, I just wanted to let you know leaving that up to the agencies at this point. With the exception of, we did receive a notice from National Grid in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. They are suspending all home visits.
For their energy efficiency programs?
Yeah.
Or everything, yeah.
Yeah. The only
Wow.
exception would be to address a no heat or an emergency.
Thanks, Julie. You came in at a great time. You provided a great update.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you.
Michael Johnson, you're from an agency in Georgia. You have your hand raised. I'm going to unmute you. Michael, do you have a microphone? Maybe that was an accident. Okay. And then Alfreda, your hand is raised again from Georgia. I just want to make sure, but it's down, so maybe you don't have any questions. Okay, and then Phil in Vermont, I saw a comment that got you pretty excited. Could you share that comment, that suggestion with everybody?
Sure.
Hi, Phil.
Hi, you can all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So you were talking about sharing ideas and best practices, et cetera. That is the definition of a users group in my mind. It seems like it can be done with virtually and not necessarily in person, although, I think there's a lot of opportunities. So that was the observation.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Every month we've been doing one webinar where I invite only the users, right? And usually it's talking about whatever hot topic, but maybe we also formalize something. We have a user group, especially with the newer platform coming out in the future. So maybe we actually formalize that and branch off of that, like a users group, to formally provide input into that.
Right.
So from this webinar, yeah, go ahead.
And I see a user group as peer-to-peer sharing of how they solve problems and do things. And it may just be, hey, this is the way we do it. Go through the whole system. People take notes, and then maybe another time they ask questions or dig into a certain area, for example.
Yeah, it's a great suggestion. Great. Well, this was great for me. You made my job busier today, so I have a lot to do from this webinar. That's a joke, but you guys are motivating me to do a lot of community organization from the Hancock user community, where we can keep everybody together and busy during this time. So thank you guys. Amanda asked me if I can share this recording, and I will share it this afternoon. I'll upload it to YouTube unlisted, so that means anybody you send the link to can view it. All right, thank you guys, and I'll be in touch soon. Have a good rest of your afternoons. Bye.
Have a good day.